Wassup times 3 is Von the Sirius Star, Sirius V, the self-help sensei, coming to you live from the airwaves, back like I never left. Today we are on What If episode 5. Can y'all actually believe that we made it to episode 5 now? We just keep rolling with these Jones. I just checked and I saw that 2 months ago I was on episode 3. And the other episode 4, I was just explaining how within that time frame, from like, for example, now and then, I've been posting different types of content as well, like self-help videos and things like that. You know what I mean? Just exploring different topics and stuff like that. Things that's going on in my personal life and other things that can just help other individuals for things that's going on in their personal life in a similar fashion. So now, like I said, I gotta get back onto my what if topics, my future of housing videos and all that stuff. So like I said, we are on episode 5 today. Now the topic of this what if episode, the future of housing, this is going to be geared towards self-sufficiency. Today we are talking about self-sufficiency. Now what do I mean when I talk about self-sufficiency? I'm talking about pretty much being able to sustain yourself in certain aspects of your life by yourself or just with a smaller group of people. So for example, let's just throw some examples out there of self-sufficiency. If you are somebody who lives by themselves and you don't like to spend money on going out to eat and stuff like that, it would be pivotal for you to know how to cook, right? That's a self-sufficient skill. So a skill like that and other skills that we're gonna go over too in today's What If episode 5. So let me just kick it off with my talking points. I got a few of them. Let me just go over the first one, which is building. Now, we see all throughout society construction going on, apartment complexes, new apartment complexes, all types of things that's going on and getting built pretty much, right? We see all these things. We see houses, new apartment complexes, and different things, hotels and all that stuff like that. These are all like companies, contractor companies who pretty much build these things. So when it comes to learning how to build and having that skill, this will be a pivotal skill and a crucial skill for society to have to actually sustain themselves in a self-sufficient manner. Now, when we go back in time, we know that before we were interconnected as far as the monetary system and the financial system and things like that, before we were interconnected, we had to learn how to build huts and things like that from nature. So these were skills that we had pretty much back in the day. You know what I mean? Other human beings had these skills and knowing how to build things and stuff like that. Now, that would be a pivotal skill and a crucial and critical skill to learn today to have. Imagine if we all had that skill growing up, knowing how to build our own houses and build our own lands and things like that, and landscape and do construction. These are things that, again, back in the day, most human beings had these skills, but nowadays, you know, we rely on the contractor companies to come around and do these things, and it pretty much takes away our own imagination of what we could use to build the things that we would like to build as far as housing is concerned and shelter and things like that. Now, think of the things that we actually have on the inside, because most of us live on the inside, right? It's a lot of things that we do on the inside of our homes, apartments, and things like that. Even individuals who live in cars, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that we need to have inside. So having a way to build shelter would be great, especially for in cases of individuals who are currently homeless at the moment. A lot of the times we have like shelter systems and things like that in place, but these are also constructed by contractors. These are not things that actually are constructed by the individuals themselves. Now let's go into a different aspect of self-sufficiency, and this goes into early learning, early childhood learning actually. And the more the younger we learn things and skill sets and stuff like that, the better we soak in these things, because you know that our brains are like sponges. We soak in information and stuff like that within the environment. Now, when I was growing up and I went to school, it was in high school. I went to Martin Luther King in Philadelphia. It was programs, before I got to that school, there was programs that existed that actually had to do with construction, I believe mechanics, cooking, I think that was called home ec or something like that. And a lot of the older individuals on the planet probably went to school with certain things like this in the public school, like certain programs that was in play and implemented in the public school system to actually help people with skill sets and trades and things like that before they actually get out of high school. When I was working, I used to work at a school, and it went from it went from daycare all the way to 12th grade. And even in the kindergarten and first grade levels, they were being taught things about electricity, like concepts of electrical circuits and stuff like that, and how to put together electrical circuits using copper wiring and things like that, and making their own little small electrical circuits. That was in a private school. In that school, that class cost a lot, and that was just like either kindergarten or first grade. And these concepts are basic concepts. Electrical wiring, like a small basic circuit, small basic DC circuit or AC circuit, is basic knowledge. But it's not commonly taught in the public school system to actually have individuals understanding how to be able to wire things up and create power for themselves and stuff like that. And like nowadays we have different methods of gathering, like natural energy, for example, like solar panels and stuff like that. You know what I mean? These things can be bought. But imagine the human mind. Imagine, remember, this is called what if. Imagine having these types of programs implemented in your childhood school system growing up, from about the earliest age that you can understand things like electrical circuits and stuff like that. Because we're taught like basics, but the human brain is, I believe, is more advanced than what we are used to. And of course we have, mental disabilities and things like that, for whereas those certain, specific information might not be easily understandable to everybody. And not only that, we also have everybody has their own way of learning and their own natal charts and stuff like that. But I still believe that these programs should be implemented back into the school system. Now, let me go back into my little talking points and stuff like that. So while we have all this information pretty much out there, it could easily be free information within the public school system. And these programs could be free programs within the public school system that we don't necessarily need more. We don't have to have 1 million books to be put into schools and spend so much money on books and things like that just for these programs. The majority of human beings nowadays have a cell phone. It could be programs that's easily downloadable onto cell phones, through emails and things like that, that's sent out to parents and stuff like that, to actually have these to print out and things like that. You can print them in school, of course, because most schools have printers and things like that. So you don't have to spend that much money on new books and all this stuff like that. All this information is easily accessible. We just would need a little more of hands-on when it comes to that, and that's where another source of finance would have to come from. And we have like really cheap stores like Harbor Freight and stuff like that, where you can get like small hand tools and small amounts of equipment and stuff like that just to have in one class. You don't have to have a billion things in each class, you know what I mean? It's just being able to have hands-on and the actual access to the knowledge, which could possibly be free access to the knowledge if it's implemented within the school system. And then over the course of time, just think about this. You went from kindergarten to 12th grade and graduated. In that time frame, for me, for example, I did not learn enough within those 12 years for most of the basic things that I'm talking about, like life experience of what I'm talking about, as far as when it comes to excuse me, like access to knowledge about car mechanics, access to knowledge about how a circuit breaker panel works, access to knowledge to how to build a floor, how to install something like ceramic tile. And these are things that we see every day growing up in our bathrooms and stuff like that. A lot of times we don't know what we're looking at. We just know that this house is somewhere we live, where our parents lived. Some of us are, we get experienced with our either mom, dad, or whoever might have experience within our circle growing up for handyman's things and stuff like that, but not everybody. So again, this would, going back to the free access and putting programs like this back into school. And the last talking point I got on this is the fact that this could be more productive. This gives society and individuals a higher productivity level when it comes to doing things for yourself. Because again, this is What If episode 5, and we're talking about self-sufficiency. So the fact that it would add more productivity to society, you would have more individuals being able to do things for themselves, whereas though it's not, we could have a generation whereas though the majority of human beings could sustain themselves individually without having to rely on an extremely interconnected system, whereas though certain things doesn't have to be so interconnected. For example, just the basis of building a home, or the basis of gaining electrical energy in certain ways that's easily doable, you know what I mean? Generating small amounts of electricity, whereas though it's for everyday needs. And a lot of these things can be done and taught really early within the lifespan of like going to school and stuff like that. So not only that, we would also be spending less money on college, going to college. Think of how much money is spent on a college program, whereas though certain things can just be learned for free. There was a movie that a guy, I think it was Matt Damon, and he told the dude, because he learned what he learned inside of a library, and the other guy was going to school for it. So he said something about like, yo, you went to school to learn something that you could learn in a library. So pretty much the joke is on you for paying so much money in college. So just think about that. A lot of the information that we have today within the college system can be implemented within the middle school, high school systems, and public school systems. Whereas though it's not money being kicked out constantly for college. Because college is a big bill. And a lot of individuals who have children would like for their children to go to college. And then not only that, a lot of the children, when they get to a college age, they would like to experience college themselves. So imagine not having to go through that process as far as getting that information and spending that amount of money on that information that is freely accessible. Because we have the internet today. Most information is freely accessible. It's Vaughn the Sirius star, Sirius V, the self-help sensei, coming to you live from the airwaves. I will be back like I never left with episode 6.